An affair. I'm married, but like most married couples I know, there's no fire, no love between us. I like her as a friend and companion, but I have no feelings towards her as a member of the opposite sex. I believe the feeling is mutual. Once you've been married for enough years, sooner or later the feeling of affection you once felt fades away into nothing. If you've been or are married, I am sure you understand, even though you don't want to admit it. For those who aren't married, well, maybe you'll find out in the future. Then again, don't let what I say get in the way of what you want to do. I'm only speaking from my experience. And besides, it's not like I'm saying marriage is necessarily a bad thing. But what I am saying is that cheating on your wife is only natural. Her name was Yuki. I really loved her. True love, unlike what I felt towards my wife. Yuki was great. She had no wish to get married or live with me. She was the same as me. She just wanted to be free to do what she wanted to do, when she wanted to. I wanted to be with her as much as possible. When I was with her, I could forget about all my troubles at work. She was also okay with me having a wife and kids. Notice the past tense. She was. I never understood how a woman's mind works. The longer I dated her, what she truly felt started to splurt all over the beautiful white canvas which was our relationship, painting it black, blue and red, yellow, green, making it needlessly complicated and ruining something which was just so perfect. Apparently, she actually wanted to marry me, and she wanted me to get a divorce. She wanted kids, and she wanted me all to herself. I did love the girl. Honestly, I did. But at the same time, I didn't want a complicated relationship. We were just sex friends, and that was it. I'll be honest with you, when a man tells a girl that he loves them, what it means 99% of the time is that he just wants to fuck. It doesn't mean anything else. Nothing more, nothing less. If things start to get complicated, it wasn't worth seeing her anymore. I couldn't risk losing my house and my family to a temporary love affair. So, I was forced to split up with Yuki. I told her we needed to stop dating, then blocked her on Facebook. It was after 1 month after we'd split up that I got a text from Yuki. "It's been a while," it read. I would not have bothered replying, except there was a picture attached to the message. It was beautifully taken and starred Yuki. She was smiling angelically and appeared to be waving to me through the photo. God, she was so beautiful. If only she hadn't gone all crazy on me. I considered again if there was any possible way for it to work between us. But it was impossible, unless we moved to a distant country which accepted dual marriage. My God though, she was hot. It was as I looked at the photo, however, that I felt a chill run down my spine. I instinctively seemed to know that there was something eerie, something horribly wrong about the photo. My body seemed to know, but my mind just couldn't comprehend what was wrong. I transferred the photo she had sent me from my phone to my work PC to take a closer look at the photo. Maximizing the photo viewer, I realized what the problem was. I knew this place. Yuki was standing in a park which was located right next to my flat. I'd never given her my location just in case. But was this simply a coincidence? As I looked at the photo even closer, I realized this was wishful thinking. Far in the distance behind the smiling Yuki were my children. They were playing in the sandbox, blissfully unaware of the nearby danger. Terrified, I immediately called back Yuki. I apologized and begged her to forgive me. She just laughed and told me, "You're never going to leave me, you fool. And if you try this again, I'll kill your kids." There's no escape from her. I should have realised that since the first time I'd slept with her, I might as well have signed a contract with the devil himself. I can't escape. Please, can someone help me? My ex-girlfriend. There was this girl I dated for 5 years. 5 years seems like a long time, but for better or worse, the time passes in a flash. After around 4 years after dating, she started to talk about getting married. When we first started seeing each other, I did tell her that I wanted to get married in the future. She must have taken my word for granted and thought we were getting married for real. But at the time she asked me to marry her, I'd only just graduated from university. I still didn't have a proper job sorted, and I was floating between part-time work. How could I possibly marry someone when I had no job or proper future plans? She said she would work as well, but to me that just wasn't good enough. Until my life was on track, it was irresponsible for me to marry anybody. I wanted to make sure my family would have a good life. I tried to explain my position to her, but she just wouldn't listen. If we love each other, why don't we just marry? Isn't that all that matters? She said. Ironically, it was this argument between us that led us to break up. We just couldn't come to an agreement, and I ended up leaving her. It was half a year after that when I next talked to her. She had called me. She was crying, and she told me she wanted to get back together with me. I still love you, she cried. But it was too late by then. You may think that I'm an asshole, but the last time I had seen her was 6 months ago at that point. It had just been too long since I left her. I had no intention of getting back together with her. I also had no reason to either. My love life was proceeding perfectly fine without her. I cold-heartedly told her that it was over and put down the phone. The next call I got was 3 days later. This time she said she wanted to meet me in person. She probably thought if we talked face to face she would be able to persuade me into dating her again. A smart move. Indeed, I was a very indecisive person at the time. I never was able to make decisions when I was younger. That's probably why I wasn't able to make myself a life plan and get a proper job. That's why she'd asked me to meet her. But I wasn't falling for that. I hung up on her straight away. I wanted to make it clear that it was completely over between us. But again, the phone rang again 2 days later. They say third time lucky, but the effect it had on me was to simply piss me off. I'd made it pretty clear that this was going nowhere for her. I didn't even bother answering this time. I let the call go straight to voice message. But then she just kept on ringing. Again and again and again. On the 20th call, I resorted to switching my phone off. The next day I had a part-time job in the morning and I had to get up early. It wasn't often that I had to get up in the early morning. The alarm clock went off and I woke up groaning. I showered, ate some cereal and was about to head off when... Jesus Christ. Switching on my phone, I found 50 new voicemail messages and over 100 texts. Practically all of them were from my ex. At this point, I even doubted that she actually cared for me at all. It seemed more likely that she was just trying to mess with my mind and piss me off. Annoyed, I decided to call her back and give her a good talking to. She answered almost immediately. I prepared myself, taking a deep breath to scream into the phone, but before I had a chance, "Why don't you answer?" I covered up my ears in pain. The bitch had shouted at the top of her high-pitched voice. Fucking hell. She sounded absolutely insane. She sounded like there was something actually mentally wrong with her. It felt like I was speaking to a complete nutter. It actually scared me. I know it sounds lame, but just listening to her voice kicked the fight out of me. Terrified, I just remember thinking, Christ alive, I've got to calm her down. Thinking on my feet, I came up with a lie to calm her down. The standard excuse. I had been at work the whole day yesterday and had forgotten my phone at home. I was shattered when I got back and didn't bother to look. I'd only just noticed her calls and messages this morning when I switched my phone back on. I said this bullshit in the nicest voice I could muster. But I got no answer from her. All I could hear from down the line was a sort of whimpering sound. She seemed to be still crying. But her whimpering voice continued to get louder, and eventually I realised she was laughing. Cackle, cackle, cackle. Hysterically, uncontrollably, intensely, she laughed. Then suddenly, she stopped. "There's a blue vending machine near your house, isn't there, darling?" What? What was she on about all of a sudden? Indeed, there was a vending machine very close to my house, but so what? I went to my window to look outside. I dropped my phone. There was the vending machine. And there was my ex. Her face was contorted in fury, but she was also crying. It also looked like she was laughing as well. She had become a mixture of emotion that shouldn't be humanly possible to portray. Gasping, I watched as she took a knife out of her handbag and proceeded to cut herself down the side of her arm. As blood slowly trickled down the shallow wound, she seemed to laugh again, hysterically. In all the years I had been with her, I had never seen her make such a face. If an expression of pure insanity existed, this was it. I thought about calling the police, but there was no point. She hadn't actually done anything apart from stay at my house. She hadn't done anything illegal. Until she did something, the police wouldn't move. People got arrested for stalking other people occasionally, but I had never heard of a woman being arrested for stalking. Besides, even if she was arrested, there was no proof of wrongdoing. She would just be released straight away and return to the outside world crazier than ever. I drew the curtains and called my boss to say that I was ill and I wouldn't be attending work today. I didn't dare leave my room. I woke up the next morning to find myself in a pitch black room. Just in case, I'd gone to bed with all the windows and curtains closed. She better have gone. Fearfully, I inconspicuously peered through the curtains at the vending machine. There was no one there. Thank God. This nightmare was over, I thought to myself. It would be a pain in the arse, but I would find myself a new place to live and that would be the end of it. I wouldn't have to go through this ever again. I pulled open the curtains fully to look at the world outside. As the sunshine filled my room and reflected off my face, I vowed to change my ways. This was the day I turned my life around. No more screwing around. I would find a proper job and the next girl I dated I would aim to marry for real. But it didn't take me long for me to be brought back to reality. As I looked outside of the window, I noticed movement in the corner of my eye. To my left there was an old bus shelter I used to get to work. In the bus shelter was a face I recognised. She smiled to me kindly and waved. I could see her mouth the words, "Good morning." I drew the curtains shut almost as fast as I had opened them. I fell to my knees with my back to the window and shuddered. This was bad. What could I do? She was still out there, waiting for me. I peered out the window again carefully to avoid being spotted. She was still there, her line of sight transfixed on my room. There was no way I could get out of here without being caught by her. Luckily, I had just done a large shop and I had enough food to last me for a week if I rationed. She couldn't stay and wait for me forever. At some point she would have to move for food or water. As soon as she moved away, it would be my chance. I'd make a break for it and stay around my friends until things blew over. But she just wouldn't move. I'd check every now and again outside the window, but she would always be there, staring at me from inside the bus shelter. I checked once during the night as well, but there she was, waiting for me. Did she not need to sleep? It was getting to around the 4th day since we'd started this game of hide and seek. The stock of food was starting to run out. I also felt sick from the pressure of not knowing when she was going to try and force an entrance. I wasn't able to get any proper sleep. Weakly, I opened the curtains by a crack to check her position for the 100th time. She wasn't in the bus shelter anymore. Looking around desperately, it took me a while to realise she was no longer outside. Terrified, my initial thought was that she had lost her cool and was charging into the apartment. I picked up a kitchen knife and waited in front of the door for the imminent attack. But as I stood there, waiting, I soon realised that she wasn't coming. There was no commotion coming from downstairs, no sound of anyone trying to break an entry. I waited for another 15 minutes just in case. Then, still not hearing anything, I collapsed onto the floor with a cry of relief. She must have had enough. She must have given up. Somehow, I had managed to beat her at her own game. I had been tensed up for the last 4 days, and as the tension was released, I felt a wave of dreariness wash over me. I dived into my bed and fell asleep almost immediately. As for how long I slept, I'm not sure, but it was the deepest slumber I had ever experienced in my entire life. No dreams, it was like I was temporarily dead for a day. When I woke up, I couldn't see anything. Pure darkness. I must have slept through the whole day and into the night. I instinctively grabbed at my light and switched it on. Sharp light flooded the room and blinded me. I couldn't see anything. Groaning, I stumbled towards the bathroom. My eyes were still half closed and I wasn't able to see anything properly due to the eye dirt clogging up my eyes. I splashed water onto my face, grabbed a towel and cleaned my face. As I washed myself, I couldn't help feeling relieved. I wouldn't have managed to go on like that for more than another day. If she had persisted, sooner or later I would have had to take the risk of confronting her. I finished scrubbing at my face and was about to grab my toothbrush when I noticed the towel I was washing my face with was covered in red for some reason. Surprised, I looked into the mirror to see what had happened. Maybe I had a nosebleed. But it wasn't bleeding. What I found was much worse. I found that there was red lipstick all over my face. They were kiss marks. The entirety of my face was covered in kisses. My ex had broken in whilst I slept. The realization of what had happened put me in a state of shock. I clumsily collapsed, falling out of the bathroom and onto the carpet of the living room. Shit, shit, shit! I let my guard down. Maybe this had been her plan from the start. She'd broken into my house safely after whittling down my mental and physical strength. Shaking, I tried to get up, but I just couldn't. She had completely outplayed me. I had been completely at her mercy for the whole day. Although I had not noticed it before due to being blinded by the light, there was actually a parcel lying next to my bed. It was covered in Christmas wrapping paper and kiss marks, just like those I had found all over my face. And inside was a video camera. It was full, absolutely full of pictures and videos of my ex playing with me as I slept last night. There was a picture of her holding a kitchen knife to my neck as I blissfully slept, not at all realising the threat to my life. The camera also included pictures of her kissing me and videos of her sleeping in the same bed as me. I still can't forget the horrifying pictures and videos. The camera also included pictures of her kissing me and videos of her playing with me as I slept. I still can't forget the horrifying imagery. At the same time, it was this video camera which saved me. The camera was full of evidence which could be used against my ex. Next time she tried to play such a trick, I would simply call the police on her. Thankfully, I haven't needed to resort to that yet, as she still hasn't tried anything on me after that. Maybe she was just trying to prove a point to me. That if she wanted to, she could get me. And that I'm at her mercy for the rest of my life.